I want to be clear that, like, law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime, okay? That is what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not necessarily prevent them from happening per se.
And so I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal. That is completely different. Being a criminal is more so about your mindset. Committing a crime can come for a lot of different reasons.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why they're so frustrated, because they really want our local law enforcement to go out and round up people when they could be looking out for the murderers and the sexual abusers as well as the robbers. They want them to go and round people up on civil accusations.
You heard it for yourselves, people. Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett says that just because you commit a crime doesn't make you a criminal, and just because you enter the country illegally, that's not a crime. And I'm trying my best to wrap my mind around both of those statements because they're so incomprehensible. But just take a look at this really quickly. Had to go to the Merriam's dictionary online, and you see right here the definition of a criminal. Criminal is a noun, one who has committed a crime. This seems pretty straightforward to me, but let's also look up illegal. This also, there's an adjective and a noun. As an adjective, the definition of illegal is not according to or authorized by law. That sounds like a crime, but here's the even funnier part about it. The noun description or the noun definition of illegal is a person who enters or lives in a country without the documentation required for legal entry or residence. So, I don't know who you are going to believe, if you're going to believe Representative Jasmine Crockett or the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. I'm probably going to lean towards the dictionary.
According to a new report, violent crime is dropping in the United States. A survey of the police chiefs of the largest cities in America found homicides, rapes, and robberies were all down during the first quarter of 2025 compared to the same time period last year. That includes a 23% decline in murders in Baltimore.
You heard it there, people. Violent crime is down, and that's a very important distinction that we need to make. Because whenever you hear Democrats talk about crime being down, they specifically say violent crime is down. What is violent crime? That's going to be murder, that's going to be robbery, that's going to be rape. But if you really peel back on the numbers and you look at who people trust, do they trust Republicans or do they trust the Democrats? The numbers will tell you that while Democrats would tell you that everything is fine, people are experiencing something very different on the ground, and they've come to a very different conclusion.
Yeah, what are we seeing? Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats saying, oh, this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime? A big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Look at that, lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this: at this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
So let's be honest, everyone. The Democrats are in very big trouble. The American people are saying that they trust Republicans by a 22% plus margin. They are plus 22, meaning that 22% more people trust Republicans than Democrats when it comes to the issue of crime. And why is it? Because they're pretending like when people say that they're afraid of crime, that it's just their imagination. Don't worry about it. Nothing's going on. Hey, crime is down year over year. So what are you worried about? But even on Morning Joe, he had an interesting conversation from a columnist from the Politico, and she is sounding the alarm for Democrats.
Let's talk about crime. You know, what's the Democrats' answer to that? If they're not going to be supporting more, like Bill Clinton, 100,000 cops on the street, what's the Democrats' response?
Well, you would think they would sort of use the opportunity to say, look, we're not soft on crime. You're accusing us of being soft on crime. We're not. We're going to call for more police officers. We're going to call for sort of an end to various decriminalization efforts that we've seen across the country since the 2020 George Floyd protests. There was sort of this movement to sort of back off a number of prosecutions. Voters have shown that they do not support that movement and actually have pushed back on in Democratic areas like Portland, like New York, like Chicago. So you would think Democrats would sort of attack this issue that way. But I've got to say, you're not seeing a lot of leaders. And I mean, from a pure political standpoint, Donald Trump on this issue believes he has the upper hand. And I think you're seeing that right now. I mean, we see a lot of Democrats talking about how, oh, this is authoritarian, right? But look, voters don't like overtly partisan power grabs, sure. But there's one thing they don't like even more, and that is feeling unsafe in their own neighborhoods. I mean, crime is a top issue for voters, especially in recent years, and it traditionally favors Republicans in their sort of tough on crime response. I mean, you guys have talked about how you think voters in New York believe crime is coming down, but if you look at polling nationwide, that is actually not the case. I mean, I was just looking at a poll yesterday, or I guess the day before when I was writing this piece, found that 70% of Americans thought crime was just as bad right now as it had been in recent years, or is actually getting worse, and something like 20% actually thought it was coming down. So when you think about voters and how they feel right now, Trump is really leaning in and sort of latching on to those fears, changing the subject away from things like Medicaid cuts or, you know, the midterms being a referendum on him. He's trying to move it back to crime. And I mean, you asked panelists, does he have the authority to do this, to go to Chicago, to put the National Guard in New York? I would contend that it's not about winning this fight. It's about the fight itself. He wants to be the one to tell voters, I'm tough on crime. What are you going to do? And what Democrats are doing right now is saying, oh, you don't have the authority and crime is down. That doesn't resonate with people. You have to have specific solutions about how you're going to protect their communities.
And you heard it there. I mean, it's really just as simple as that. If people are living their lives and they're afraid to go out in public, they're afraid to get carjacked, businesses are afraid that they're going to be the victim of a smash and grab. People are being, I'm here in the Chicagoland area, people are being pushed onto trains and, like I said, getting carjacked and don't feel safe walking down the street. And then when a criminal does get arrested, that person is almost immediately released because of the Safety Act. There's this no cash bail that's going on in all of these blue-run Democratic cities across the country. So yeah, people don't feel safe. And no matter how much Democrats tell them that they should feel safe or that there's nothing to be afraid of, that's not going to change the reality of what people are experiencing every day. But again, when you listen to Representative Jasmine Crockett,
and so I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal.
So just remember that, everybody. The next time someone robs you, the next time someone carjacks you, the next time somebody murders someone on the street or robs someone, just remind yourself and take solace in the fact that just because someone commits a crime doesn't mean they're a criminal. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. If you really like this video, you can hit the hype button. That'll really help the channel out. But most of all, leave a comment, leave a like. I appreciate you for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.